Have you ever walked past an old abandoned house and felt a shiver run down your spine? Or heard a story about a local landmark that's supposedly haunted and felt a strange pull, a morbid curiosity? We all love a good ghost story, but what happens when those stories feel a little too real? When you find yourself in a place whispered about in hushed tones and something happens that you just can't explain? Today, we're diving deep into those moments. We're not just retelling old legends, we're exploring how personal experiences in these places can transform a simple spooky tale into a profound personal connection to the past. It's one thing to hear about the lady in white who haunts the old bridge, but it's another thing entirely to be driving over that bridge late at night and see a flicker of movement out of the corner of your eye, a shape that doesn't quite belong. I grew up in a small town steeped in history, and with that history came its fair share of ghost stories. There was the old textile mill by the river, abandoned for decades, where people said you could still hear the clatter of machinery on silent nights. As kids, we'd dare each other to get close to the broken windows, our hearts pounding in our chests. It was just a game, a way to pass the long summer evenings. The legend was just a story. But one night, everything changed. A group of us, now in our late teens, decided to finally cross the threshold. Armed with flashlights and a misplaced sense of bravery, we crept inside. The air was thick with the smell of damp earth and decay. Our flashlight beams cut through the darkness, revealing rusted hulks of machinery that looked like sleeping iron giants. We were laughing, making jokes, trying to scare each other. Then, a sound echoed from the far end of the cavernous main floor. It wasn't the wind, and it wasn't one of us. It was a rhythmic, metallic, scraping sound. Scrape, pause. Scrape, pause. We froze, our laughter dying in our throats. Every horror movie instinct screamed at us to run. We looked at each other, eyes wide in the gloom. Was it a vagrant, an animal? My friend Mark, ever the skeptic, called out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" The scraping stopped. Absolute silence descended, so heavy it felt like a physical weight. We held our breath, listening, and then, from the darkness, came a soft, clear whisper. It sounded like a young woman's voice, and it said, "Help me." We didn't wait for a second invitation. We turned and ran, stumbling over debris, our flashlights bouncing wildly, creating a chaotic light show on the crumbling brick walls. We didn't stop until we were half a mile down the road, gasping for breath under the safety of a streetlight. After that night, the old mill wasn't just a spooky landmark anymore. It was a place with a voice, a place with a story that felt painfully real. The local legend spoke of a young factory worker who had a tragic accident involving the machinery in the early 1900s. Suddenly, she wasn't just a character in a ghost story. She was a person, someone who might have been trapped, scared, and calling out for help for over a century. My connection to my town's history deepened in a way I never expected. It became personal. This is the power of personal encounters. They breathe life into legends. Take, for instance, the countless tales of haunted theaters. Almost every historic playhouse has its ghost, whether it's a jilted actress, a fallen stagehand, or a benevolent former owner who just can't bear to leave. You can hear the stories from the tour guide, nod along, and think, What a quaint old tale. But then, you talk to a lighting technician who swears they saw a seat in the empty balcony fold down on its own, or an actor who heard their name whispered from the wings when they were alone on stage, rehearsing a monologue. For them, that theater isn't just a building, it's a living space they share with an unseen resident. Their personal experience enriches the legend, adding another layer, another chapter to an ongoing story. It connects them not just to the ghost, but to everyone else who has had a similar experience in that same space, creating a secret, unspoken community. Think about the famous haunted roads, like Clinton Road in New Jersey, or Archer Avenue in Illinois, home to the vanishing hitchhiker, Resurrection Mary. Thousands of people drive these roads, hoping for a glimpse of the supernatural. Most see nothing. But for the few who claim they have for the person who swears they saw a young woman in a white dress by the side of the road who vanished when they got closer. That legend is now part of their own life story. It's no longer just the legend of Resurrection Mary. It becomes the night I saw Resurrection Mary. This personalizes the folklore, anchoring it in the real world. The story is no longer something you read about. It's something that happened to you. This transformation is fascinating. It turns a passive listener into an active participant in the narrative. The legend evolves from a fixed point in the past to a dynamic, ongoing event. And it doesn't always have to be terrifying. Sometimes these encounters are subtle, even comforting. I once spoke with an elderly woman who lived in a historic home that was once a makeshift hospital during the Civil War. She said she would often smell the faint scent of pipe tobacco in the study, even though no one had smoked in the house for decades. Or she'd hear the soft creak of floorboards from the empty room upstairs, like someone pacing gently. She wasn't scared. She felt she was sharing her home with gentle spirits who were simply continuing their existence. Her personal experiences gave her a deep sense of connection to the people who lived and died in her home over 150 years ago. The house wasn't haunted in a menacing way, it was inhabited by history. The legends weren't meant to scare, but to remind her that she was just one small part of a much larger, longer story. This is what I find so compelling. These personal encounters deepen our relationship with our surroundings. An old battlefield isn't just a field, it's a place where you felt an inexplicable sadness wash over you. A historic hotel isn't just a building, it's where you heard faint laughter from the empty ballroom. These moments blur the line between the past and the present, between story and reality. They make history tangible, emotional, and intensely personal. The legend provides the framework, but the personal encounter provides the soul. It makes us wonder, question, and look at the world around us with a little more awe and a little more mystery. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the heart of haunted legends. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more deep dives into the mysterious and the unknown. Until next time, keep your eyes open and listen closely to the whispers of the past. Have you ever heard a local ghost story and wondered if there was any truth to it? That little whisper of a tale that everyone in town knows, the one that gets passed down from generation to generation. For most people, they're just stories. spooky fun for a campfire. But for me, one of those legends became terrifyingly real. I grew up in a small town nestled by an old, dense forest. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone and the local history is as much a part of the landscape as the ancient oak trees. The biggest story, the one that even gave the adults a little shiver, was the legend of the Lantern Man of Whisperwood. They said that over a century ago, a lumberjack named Silas got lost in a sudden blizzard while heading home. He searched for days, his lantern the only light against the blinding snow. He never made it out. The legend says his spirit still roams those woods, his lantern bobbing in the darkness, forever searching for the path he'll never find. They say if you see the light, you shouldn't follow it. It's Silas, trying to lead you astray, to share his lonely fate. It was just a story, a good one, but still a story. At least, that's what I thought until one autumn evening in my late teens. My friends, Mark, Chloe, and I, decided we were brave enough to test the legend. It was that classic teenage mix of boredom and bravado. The sun was setting, casting long, spooky shadows through the trees as we entered Whisperwood. The air grew cold fast, the kind of damp chill that seeps right into your bones. We laughed and joked at first, our voices sounding too loud in the sudden quiet of the forest. We had flashlights, but we kept them off, wanting the full experience. We walked for maybe half an hour, deeper than we usually went. The familiar trails started to fade, and the trees grew closer together, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching for us. The laughter died down, replaced by an uneasy silence broken only by the crunch of leaves under our feet. It was Mark who saw it first. He just stopped dead and pointed. "Guys, look." About 100 yards ahead, through a thicket of trees, was a light. It wasn't a flashlight beam, it was a soft, flickering yellowish glow, just like an old-fashioned lantern. It swayed gently, as if someone was carrying it, walking slowly. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was it, the Lantern Man. For a moment, we were frozen, a mix of terror and absolute exhilaration coursing through us. This was the legend, right in front of our eyes. Chloe whispered, her voice trembling, "It's probably just another hiker." But we all knew. No one hiked this deep at night, and certainly not with an old-timey lantern. The light seemed to beckon us, moving slowly away, deeper into the woods. My rational mind was screaming at me to turn back, to run, but the pull of the mystery, the need to know, was stronger. It was like the legend itself had a gravitational pull. "Let's just get a little closer," I said, my own voice barely a whisper, "just to see what it is." That was our big mistake. We started to follow it. We tried to be quiet, but the forest floor was a minefield of dry twigs and rustling leaves. The light always stayed just ahead of us, maintaining the same distance. It would disappear behind a massive tree trunk and then reappear a little further on. The path was gone now. We were completely disoriented, with no idea which way we had come from. The air got even colder, and a strange fog began to roll in, clinging to the ground and muffling all sound. All we could hear was our own ragged breathing and the thumping of our own hearts. The chase felt like it went on for an eternity. The light led us through thorny bushes that tore at our clothes and over slippery, moss-covered rocks. Fear had completely taken over. The fun was gone. This wasn't a game anymore. We were lost, truly, hopelessly lost. And the light, our only guide, was leading us further into the unknown. Then, suddenly, the light just went out. One moment it was there, a flickering beacon in the gloom, and the next there was nothing but complete and utter darkness. The fog was so thick now we couldn't even see our hands in front of our faces. Panic set in. Pure, animal panic. We called out to each other, our voices swallowed by the fog. I remember stumbling, falling over a root, and scraping my hands on the cold, damp earth. For a few terrifying moments, I thought I was alone. I screamed Mark and Chloe's names, and their voices eventually answered, close but sounding strangely distant. We huddled together, back to back, finally turning on our flashlights. The beams were pathetic, cutting only a few feet into the soupy fog. We had no idea which way was out. We were cold, scared, and on the verge of tears. The legend didn't mention this part. It didn't describe the chilling sense of abandonment, the feeling of being played with and then discarded in the dark. We were convinced we were going to spend the night out there, or worse. We remembered the stories of Silas freezing, and that fear became very, very real. I don't know how long we stood there, paralyzed by fear. It felt like hours. We just kept shouting, hoping someone would hear us. And then we heard something else. Not the lantern, but a dog barking in the distance. It was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. It sounded like it was coming from a farmhouse on the edge of the woods. Using that sound as our compass, we started walking, stumbling through the undergrowth, calling out to the dog, praying it would keep barking. After what felt like another lifetime of pushing through branches and tripping in the dark, we finally saw another light. Not a flickering lantern, but the steady, warm glow of a porch light. We burst out of the tree line into a farmer's field, scratched, muddy, and shaking. An old man came out onto his porch, his dog still barking at his side. He took one look at us and knew exactly what had happened. "Saw the light, did you?" he asked, his voice calm and knowing. "You kids are lucky. Old Silas doesn't let go of everyone he lures in." He let us use his phone, and our frantic parents came and picked us up. We were miles from where we had started. I've never been back in those woods at night. That experience changed the Lantern Man from a spooky story into a tangible memory, a real and personal warning. It's not just a tale about a ghost, it's a story about the woods themselves, about respect for the unknown, and about how a little bit of teenage foolishness can bring you face to face with something you can't explain. That night gave the legend weight. It grounded it in a personal fear that I'll carry with me forever. So the next time you hear a local ghost story, remember, some of them might just have a flicker of truth waiting in the darkness for someone curious enough to follow. Thank you so much for watching and for letting me share this with you. It's a story I don't tell very often. If you have any personal stories with local legends, I would love to read them in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories from the shadows. Stay safe out there.